Tennessee should be on more upset alert than you probably think.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest and craziest sport on planet Earth, which is back in earnest this week. Games start Thursday. I'm talking Nebraska, Cincinnati. That's not a game that can be overlooked. Utah, UCLA, another Big 10, Big 12 showdown. We'll have that preview for you here on today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Eric Kane, Locked On Vols, is here. Let me make my case, Eric. Nico's, of course, gone. We know all of that. I'm just saying more upset alert than most people think.
Did you see me backstage? I don't know if you saw me.
I did.
I'm just laughing.
I did. Take note, Orange fans. That's how much respect Kaner's got for you guys coming into this year. They're in a similar but not identical situation. Hear me out. When you have a quarterback that's coming in to start, who last played college football at Appalachian State, that didn't have the chance to go through spring ball, and is going to come into an offense that'll look very different than last year personnel-wise. No Dylan Sampson. You've got changes on the perimeter as well. A defense that I think will be really good and is why Tennessee is favored to win this game. That just gives me a lot of pause, Eric. If I just look at this through a Tennessee lens, that's how I can see this game being more uncomfortable than Vols fans would like. And I don't think this will be a repeat of the NC State game last year. Am I nuts?
I'm not going to say you're nuts. I mean, we did a Locked On crossover on Monday, Locked On Vols, Locked On Syracuse. Really good conversation. I thought that we were both kind of on the same page. And I like Fran Brown. I think Fran Brown's an excellent coach. Who knows what Syracuse is going to turn into. And to your points about Tennessee, who knows what Tennessee is going to look like in the SEC this year when it's all said and done. Having said that, this is week one. And yes, there are two offenses that kind of mirror one another. McCord's gone, broke ACC records last year. Your 1,200-yard receiver left in spring. Your leading rusher, 1,000-yard rusher, is gone. Your two other wide receivers are gone. 4 starters on the offensive line are gone. A tight end in the NFL, he's gone. Syracuse, completely new personnel. Tennessee, new quarterback, new running backs, new wide receivers, and 4 stars on the offensive line. So, yes, I get the parallels here, but here's the difference, right? I don't care. I mean, Dylan Sampson was phenomenal last year, not taking anything away from him. Tennessee runs the football with literally anybody. Okay, Jabari Small was a 2,000-yard rusher here at Tennessee under Josh Heupel. I mean, Tennessee has run for over 2,500 yards every single year Josh Heupel's been here. So, Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, Star Thomas, who Tennessee got in the transfer portal, I think the run game is going to be just fine. They're going to rely on that run game a lot on Saturday, obviously, to help Joey Aguilar kind of get settled in. So that's number one, that Tennessee's going to run the football effectively. Number two, Syracuse's defense last year was non-existent. They had to outscore everybody, did a good job in that regard. They were 14th in the ACC in points per game. They allowed over 155 yards on the ground per game. And I know different personnel, I get it, but boy, that defense was non-existent last year. And I guess we don't know what it's going to look like on Saturday, but it wasn't good last year. Number three, Tennessee's defense is going to be very, very good. So I don't see Syracuse with a transfer quarterback that was not here in spring practice, getting over 20 points. So I think Tennessee wins by at least 2 touchdowns, covers that spread. I don't know if it'll be like NC State when Tennessee just ran away with it, but I like Tennessee comfortably in this one. And again, we'll see what Tennessee ends up being on the year. We'll see what Syracuse ends up being on the year. But what I know is Tennessee will run the football. Tennessee will play good defense. And I can't say anything with certainty for Syracuse on Saturday.
The reason I just wonder about this game is what you laid out, and I hadn't gotten to Syracuse. I had several of those points ready to go. No, it's okay. That's okay. It just means we're both doing our homework on these teams going into the game. These are both mystery teams that I also feel confident are pullback teams. On my preseason record predictions, I've got both of them going under their win totals for the year. Syracuse, that's somewhat schedule-based, but also because, my goodness, they lost a lot. And what in year 2 for Fran Brown. What sort of talent do you have waiting in the wings when you lose that many guys and your leading receiver and a quarterback that does all of that? I feel better about what Tennessee has behind. But here's the other thing, Eric. This is a neutral site game. This is you're not going to have Old Rocky Top blasting in the background at some point.
It is going to be 70-30% Tennessee Orange. I mean, it's 2.5, 3 hours away from Knoxville, where it's 15 hours away from Syracuse.
That's what. You ever been on an airplane, Eric? I bet the number of direct flights from Syracuse, from New York, LaGuardia to Atlanta, that's got to be a hotbed, man.
I can say this with certainty. Tennessee fans travel regardless of the sport anywhere. I don't know if Syracuse fans do that. I'm pretty confident that there's going to be more Tennessee Orange by a long margin, by a wide margin on Saturday. But it is neutral site, to your point. But I think there's going to be a little bit more of a home field advantage for Tennessee.
That's fair. Tennessee is certainly, I'm pretty sure, without having the numbers in front of me, has a bigger overall fan base and average attendance than Syracuse. I think I'm on solid ground saying that. No disrespect to the Orange faithful. They show up in that dome when the Orange play their games there. But it just popped in my head when I was thinking about this game. Man, I don't know what Joey Aguilar is in this offense. How quickly is he going to pick it up? I think it's reasonable to say he's going to be better by game 5, by third Saturday in October, for instance, than he's going to be in this game. But what does that gap look like? What does that gap actually entail? Is week 1 a borderline train wreck and they're scrapping out a win against Syracuse? Or is it, you know what? Joey Aguilar needs to come out and go for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that's it. And they can just run the ball and win with defense and win the game, 30-10.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the route Tennessee can go. If it's going to be a win that I think it's going to be, covering that spread, 2 touchdowns at least. I think Tennessee's going to run the football well, play good defense. Again, I don't see this Syracuse offense scoring a lot on this Tennessee defense. That's just me. So Joey Aguilar doesn't need to go out there and be Superman or try to be a Brett Favre type guy, which I spoke to his quarterback coach, his personal quarterback coach, last weekend, and he said he's got a little bit of Brett Favre to him, that gunslinger mentality. You don't necessarily need to be that here in week 1. Get settled, run this offense, run with tempo, and let's see what you got. Again, season's in, I don't know. Third Saturday in October, I have no clue what Joey Aguilar is going to look like. I think that if he stays healthy and starts all the games, just on the stat sheet alone, I know that doesn't tell all the story, but based on the stat sheet alone, gosh, it'd be hard to not do the numbers that Nico did a season ago. Nico's numbers were not that good, especially in SEC play. Again, numbers don't tell the whole story. Nico made a ton of throws against Alabama to win in that game. That was awesome. But I think Joey Aguilar can certainly do that. I can live with more interceptions if you throw more touchdowns and you throw more for more passing yards, and that's just something Tennessee didn't have in the offense, like it did a couple of years ago. So we'll see what happens. I don't think Joey Aguilar needs to go out there and just prove to everybody hey, I'm the starting quarterback at Tennessee, hear me roar or anything like that. I think he can just go out there and play his game a little bit and rely. This is the best team. These are the best players he's ever played with. Utilize them. Let them go to work and then just kind of do your thing.
Yeah, one of my biggest keys for Tennessee going into this game, because they've got the better roster, is don't give Syracuse anything. Don't let a field goal get blocked. Don't throw an interception in your own territory. Give them easy points. If Tennessee jumps on, I think Steve Angeli's interesting at quarterback for Syracuse. I really do. I think he can be solid. I think the system, the coaching staff is really good. I just don't know if the personnel is there. I am, because of my hesitation on Tennessee generally going into this year, I'm not going to pick Tennessee to win 50-10 or whatever that NC State game was. I think this is kind of a low-scoring affair. Unders have been my jam for my week 1 picks so far, because it takes a while to get into the fold. It's a little bit sloppy. It's a little bit ugly. I think Tennessee is more well-suited to win that style of game than Syracuse is. So I'll take Tennessee 27, watch this, 12. 27-12.
That's covering. Yeah, that's
it
covering
is.
the spread
Just
right
barely.
There.
Just barely. But you can wrap this segment with your score prediction.
Give me Tennessee. I don't know. Give me Tennessee 31. Give me Syracuse. Give me Tennessee 31, Syracuse 13. And I know you got to go, and I'll be really, really quick. And I'm sure you've talked about this, or at least when you talked about this game. Another storyline is when Nico bolted and Tennessee was without a quarterback on April the 12th or whatever it was, there were only 2 actual quarterbacks in the transfer portal that were like, okay, we can actually see this happening. Steve Angeli was one of them.
You and I talked about him on this very show.
Yeah, and I don't know how far along those discussions went or anything, but Tennessee 1,000% evaluated him, and Steve Angeli's not the quarterback here at Tennessee. Not to say he's not a good quarterback; he won't have a good year. I'm rooting for him every other game outside of Saturday, but that is a storyline. Tennessee, all things considered, Tennessee could have had him as a starting quarterback this year, but Tennessee passed and went and found somebody else, and eventually it was Joey Aguilar.
Eric Kane, Locked On Vols. Do you think I planned these shows by accident? Absolutely not. We're talking about Nico and what to know for that game against Utah. How the Bruins get it done. Coming up next. First, this episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like myself. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So if you've had that one financial goal you've been wanting to hit for a while, but you haven't been able to get there, Monarch is here to help you out. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. If you use the code LOCKEDONCollege, check them out at monarchmoney.com. This episode also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Do you realize how incredible of a deal that is? You do not want to miss that. And if you wanted to bet on a game I'm talking about later on today's show, like Utah, UCLA, or Nebraska, Cincinnati, both of which will be discussed, then guess what? FanDuel's the place to do it. You've got everything you want for college football. Heisman bets, national title odds, conference title odds, individual games, and so much more. It's all over there. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Get $300 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Check them out at FanDuel.com. Can Nico pull the upset and shock Utah week 1? JT Wistersill of Locked On Utes and Zach Anderson Yochtheimer of Locked On Bruins are here to discuss that very matter. Zach, I'll start with you. Your confidence level 1 to 10 that UCLA, even though they're at home, can actually win this game against Utah is what?
I think it's closer to a 7. I think UCLA can absolutely beat Utah. It's a pretty even matchup, but I do think they can win this game for sure.
A 7.
Even.
A 7. Even 7.
Do you go even just because both 5 and 7 last year and roster turnover? Is that what you're leaning towards?
I mean, I just think it's a dynamic. It's a week 1 chaos. Mm-hmm. I just think it's just college football week 1 chaos, the unknown, and that UCLA's upgraded in quite a few areas. Obviously, defensively could be a step down, but I do think it'll be an even game. I could be proved very wrong, but I do think week 1 helps UCLA a lot.
Okay, JT, your confidence level that Utah avoids what wouldn't technically be an upset unless you look at the FanDuel odds, which is Utah minus 6.5 on the road. I think they're going to win and cover that particular number. My everydayers out there know I'm not very big on UCLA this year. That could change, but I mean, for next year, not for this particular season. But there is a part of me that kind of needs Utah to win this game. I can't have the Bruins be 1 win closer to 7 wins or more, lest I have to don a Nico jersey for a week on the show. JT, your Utes aren't going to let that happen, are they?
I don't think so. It's always tough to win on college football on the road, right? So for that reason, I'll go a 7 in the confidence, I'll say. But I just feel like Utah returns a lot more continuity than UCLA does. There is just a lot going on for UCLA. I think UCLA could be decent this year. I think this is by far the best time to catch them, especially with Nico not going through spring ball, with this group having to learn a new offense, get the timing down. Offensive line, a lot of new pieces getting in sync. Defense, a lot of new pieces. There's a lot new more new for UCLA than there is for Utah. That's why I feel good about Utah being able to cover in this game.
Zach, no spring ball for Nico. How much does that weigh on your mind going into game one against a team that should be a Big 12 title contender?
I mean, there's quite a few pieces that came after Nico on the offensive side of the ball in the portal as well during the spring. So there's more than just Nico having to work together. I think Tino can adapt. I think he's got the wherewithal to make it work for week one. They had a good fall camp. They got away from campus in Costa Mesa in Orange County, which is a lot further from Westwood than people think. I think they'll have it dialed in. And if he plays well, maybe it's not exactly Baker Mayfield for the Rams against the Raiders, but like, does that mean spring practice is a wash? If he plays well with the new offensive coordinator, I think he should be just fine.
So I want to start with you on this particular question, JT. What does Utah have to do to win this game?
I think they need to control time of possession and just run the ball, because I think if the very first game for Devin Dampier at Utah, even though it's the same offense, right? Offensive coordinator Jason Beck comes with him. I just don't think you want Devin Dampier having to throw the ball 40 times. But even though UCLA expect to pack the box, I still think Utah's going to have success running the ball. All 5 starters back. Arguably the best tackle duo in college football, 2 first-round projected offensive tackles. You get that experience up front. You pair that with a quarterback in Devin Dampier, who led the country in yards per carry at 7.5 yards per carry a season ago. Yes, G5 competition, but he was incredibly elusive. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was sacked less than 6 times last season, and he played some P4 teams. So in those games alone, he should have been sacked that much. But he also, according to Pro Football Focus, was tied for first with John Mateer for the most forced missed tackles amongst quarterbacks. So Devin Dampier, incredibly dynamic with his legs. Wayshawn Parker is a true freshman last year, 700 yards with Washington State. I think he's going to have a big game on the ground. I think if Utah just establishes the run game, and even with a packed box, I just think they're going to be able to overpower UCLA up front, and I think that's how they get a win here, and just keep the time of possession rolling, keep Nico off the field. And when he is on the field, I'm curious to see how that offensive line in week one for the Bruins comes together and deals with a lot of crazy stuff that Morgan Scalley, blitz-wise, Utah's DC, is going to be throwing at him.
Zach, UCLA wins this game, and it would certainly be the biggest victory, I think, of the Deshaun Foster era. You'd start the Nico era off with quite a bang and a non-conference win. What happens if they win that game?
What happens is one of 2 things. You have to keep Nico upright. If he's upright, he's got time to throw. He's got a clean pocket. He's going to throw for a lot of yards and get some touchdowns if he's kept upright. And then 2, when Dampier's forced to throw the ball, you have to get a pick. UCLA can't win this game without forcing an interception. Clearly, the UCLA's front 7 is not going to be a match for Utah's, trenches. I think when he throws the ball, whether forced to or decides to make a bad decision, his 12 interceptions last year on 12 touchdown passes is the factor that UCLA's revamped secondary has to take advantage of. If there's no turnovers and Nico's going down to the turf, it could get ugly. But if those 2 things happen, UCLA could win.
Give me an X factor for both of your teams. JT, you're first.
X factor, I'll go Tobias Merriweather. We mentioned the passing game right there. He's Utah's wide receiver who was at one point at Notre Dame, then Cal, now transferred up to Utah. It's a former 4-star recruit, 6'5", 200 pounds. He's had a very good camp. He was a late addition, so there'll be the interesting thing, kind of similar to what Nico and some of these other pieces are going through, is how quickly can you get him integrated into the offense. But the buzz about him has been real. He's got a chance to be a special wide receiver, and that doesn't happen very much up in Salt Lake City. So if he can have a big game, then Utah could really open this one up and make a statement that is heard as much as a game can be at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Does Utah know what wide receivers are? Not tight ends, just like actual wide receivers. Are they familiar? Are they familiar with the group?
If Dorian Singer can somehow get 700 yards last year with Isaac Wilson, anything's possible.
He had 700 receiving yards last year.
Mm-hmm. He had over 700.
Oh, Zach, you guys are really cooked. I mean, so you're just done. You might as well not even watch the game. Zach, you can just record your reaction show now because we know how it's going to play out. I didn't realize Utah got that many passes to wide receivers last year. Your biggest X factor, Zach, for the Bruins?
I'm going with another receiver, but for UCLA, Quasi Gilmer. Is he the guy that's going to assert himself as to the number 1 receiver? Nico's got to throw it to somebody, and the word around camp is Quasi and Nico were the special connection making plays all throughout fall camp. Someone's got to be the number 1 guy. And if Gilmer, who had some flashes as a true freshman, is a guy coming into the sophomore that's been there through spring ball, already developing connection, let's see if we see that in week 1 for a couple of touchdown catches.
So are you saying right now he's a quasi number 1 receiver?
Yeah, absolutely. Go watch his commitment video. It's pretty funny.
Okay. I'm actually going to put that in my show for today. That's going to remain. That will not be edited out. I'm going to leave that out there and realize that you all choose to consume the show, and I thank you very much for doing that. Last but certainly not least in this glorious segment, JT, you're going last. Zach, you get to go first. Game predictions for UCLA in Utah in a Big 10, Big 12 showdown. RIP Pac-12, sweet prince, but this is what it should. Wait, we're not going down that road. Not going down that road. Zach, your score prediction for Saturday.
Let's go crazy. Let's go UCLA 35, Utah 32. I might look like a fool.
Whoa.
But if it's going to happen, that's how it's going to happen.
35. UCLA, no spring ball for Nico, and he's dropping 35 on Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley. JT, do you hear the guts on that guy over there?
It's a lot considering Utah's defense only allowed 20 points per game a season ago. Yeah, they have a couple questions that they need to fill in there, but look at this Utah defense history year after year and the quality of the transfers that they've brought into with experience that should slide in seamlessly. I don't see Utah giving up over 25 in this game. I think Utah is going to be able to control the ball on offense. I think they're going to throw Nico off his game. I think we're going to leave this game more impressed with Devin Dampier, and all the Tennessee fans that stayed up late to hate watch will be rewarded. I have Utah winning this game 32, UCLA 17.
32-17. I'm glad you had the under. I like the under in this game. FanDuel's got it at 51.5. New quarterbacks, new systems. Week 1, no tune-up game against an FCS opponent. Definitely take the under. I like Utah to win. I like Utah to cover. I frankly think that number is a little bit low at 6.5. So I'll take the Utes. You know what? I'll give some mild respect. Mild. To UCLA, because I do think Tino Sinceri could be a really good hire. So there's my olive branch to the Bruins. And by the way, just for funsies, because the over-under is 51.5, 31-20. Give me Utah to win the game and pick up a nice non-conference victory for the Big 12. JT Wistersill, Locked On Utes. Zach Anderson, Yoxheimer, Locked On UCLA. Great as always. Speaking of Big 10 non-conference games against the Big 12, Nebraska's game is sneaky tough this week. First, this episode brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Do you need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. That is what Supply House is all about. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process even smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Not one, but two Big 10, Big 12 showdowns this weekend in week 1 of college football. Nebraska traveling to Cincinnati to play the Bearcats. I want to start with the stakes in this game. The hype on Nebraska is pretty high. And guess what? Understandably so. People like myself have picked them to win 9 games. A lot of people hear their win total of 7.5. I love the over. I love the over. They better not overlook Cincinnati. And you know what? You've got all offseason leading up to week 1. I don't suspect that they will. Matt Rule's 2 for 2 on within the first 2 to 3 years popping at the school that he takes over. This is now year 3 that he is going into. He's got a new defensive staff. He's got a new-ish offensive coordinator in Dana Holgerson. You've got Dylan Raiola back at quarterback. A lot of interesting storylines here. But this game happens earlier in the week before we actually hit the weekend. I'll have a reaction to it up at some point this week here on the feed. But for Nebraska, losing this game is going to invoke one specific reaction from the Big Red fan base. Here we go again. The Cornhuskers are a 6.5-point favorite. I'm not going to pick them to cover that particular number on the road week 1. Cincinnati is not a program people are really expecting a whole heck of a lot from. They won 3 games in Scott Satterfield's first year, 5 games last season. They started out well, winning 4 of their first 5. They stumbled down the stretch. You know who else did that? Nebraska started out really well, non-conference convincing win against a Big 12 opponent at home in Colorado. Now they play Cincinnati on the road. I don't think this is going to be as easy of a game as a lot of people think it is. Cincinnati is a program that is probably in decision mode for Scott Satterfield this year. He's got to make a bowl game, I think, or else he will be on his way out. Guess what? He could do that. Did you know that Cincinnati's schedule this year does not include any of Texas Tech, Arizona State, or Kansas State? None of those teams are on Cincinnati's schedule. They've got Iowa State, they've got Utah, they've got TCU and Baylor, but no Kansas State, no Arizona State, no Texas Tech. Those are my preseason top 3 teams in the Big 12. If Cincinnati wins this game, they could start to snowball wins. The opportunity is there, is all that I am saying. But certainly Nebraska needs this win a heck of a lot more than Cincinnati does. You can't come out in year 3 with a second-year former 5-star quarterback in Dylan Raiola, who has got all the potential in the world. Remember, Nebraska started off, was it 5-1, I believe, a season ago, and ended up scraping into a bowl game, which they won at 7-6. That was a big deal. For them to get over that hump and get back to a bowl game finally, that was a really good step for the program. Now people want Nebraska to take the next step for the program this year. Winning this game at Cincinnati is not a game that I'm going to brush off, that I'm going to overlook, give no credit for if they win and say, oh, they were favored, they should have won. No, I don't think this game is going to be easy. I do like Nebraska, but I have questions about the defensive staff because the one they had prior got hired to Florida State for a reason. They were really, really good. So let's see if they are as good on that side of the ball as they have been over the last couple of cycles. But for Nebraska coming into this game, if they do win, then it's let's put the train on the tracks, full steam ahead, and Nebraska is going to push to be a college football playoff team this year. I don't think they'll get there necessarily, but they're going to push for it. The one thing that's going to define this game as much as anything is the rushing attack. Nebraska, wants to run the ball. I think in a perfect world, Dylan Raiola makes a couple of spectacular throws throughout the course of the game. You showcase his arm talent with a couple of downfield shots to keep the defense honest. But we've watched Nebraska for a couple of years now under Matt Rule. And we've seen Matt Rule teams before. We know they want to run the football. That's the physical brand of football that they were winning with a season ago. And the team that kind of knocked them off the rails and caused their season to wobble a bit, and still they had to fight and scrap and claw, but did get to a bowl game, it was Illinois. Played the same sort of style of ball. Nebraska's not changing just because of that one game. I don't think anyone is suggesting that. But I think that Nebraska wants to come out and run the ball, especially on the road. Even though you've got Dana Holgorsen and Dylan Raiola, who have had an offseason together to get on the same page and talk about everything that a quarterback, an offensive coordinator, and a quarterback need to. I get so excited talking about actual games now. I stumble over my words sometimes. That's not a bad thing. I mean, games actually being here is wonderful. I'm here for it. So they've had an entire offseason there, but this is game 1. I'm a guy that leans towards unders in the first week of the year, especially when you've got a new coaching staff in place. Dana Holgorsen came in later last year, and we'll see if they're firing on all cylinders right away. If Cincinnati wants to win this game, they have to stop the run. They have to. Cincinnati ran the ball really well last year, about 180 yards per contest. They gave up about 160 per game on the ground. You can't do that here. If you give up 170, 180 yards on the ground to Nebraska, the play action is going to be such a force for Dana Holgorsen and this Nebraska offense. With Dylan Raiola's skill set, I don't see how Cincinnati's going to be able to overcome that. But very quietly, this is a program that year 1 probably underachieved, given what Luke Fickell had, left how he left the program, I should say, with a 13-win season and a 9-win season. It has not been the best of situations for Cincinnati fans, but very quietly, if you look at it from a different standpoint and say you're starting at 0, you win 3 games your first and 5 games your second, well, a natural progression might put you to 7 or maybe 8 wins this year, especially when you don't play 3 of the toughest teams in the Big 12. Brendan Sorsby is back at one-time Indiana quarterback, by the way. He left before Curt Cignetti got there. But Sorsby, last year, nothing special. Not a lot of touchdowns, not a lot of volume. The Cincinnati offense could have a really difficult day if that Nebraska defense is able to overcome the loss of their defensive coordinator, and I think a couple other coaches as well, and go out and be successful like they were last year. When Nebraska at home, behind that fantastic fan base out there in Lincoln, played Colorado, they dominated them with defense. They had the pick six of Shedeur Sanders. They were mauling, absolutely mauling the Buffs offensive line. Now, that Colorado offensive line, as it was the year before, and Colorado fans are hoping won't be again this year, was horrifically awful. It was terrible. They couldn't block, and Nebraska was really good. Well, Brendan Sorsby is fine. He's got a completion percentage in the mid to high 60s. Last year he went for 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns to 7 picks. Fine. 18 touchdowns, not a huge number. That has to improve. But Cincinnati, quietly last year, they give up less than 25 points a game. They're respectable. On offense, you'd like to have a little bit more. You probably need to create a chunk play or two. But you're at home. You're going to have the crowd on your side. You're not going to have to worry about an empty stadium because people don't have any belief in the team. It's week 1. Anybody can be a good team in college football. Who's going to be this year's Indiana that comes absolutely out of nowhere? I don't know. Maybe it's Cincinnati. We don't know until we play the game. But going on the road week 1, I think this is a slightly tougher game than Nebraska would like it to be. I do like the Cornhuskers to win, but I will take Cincinnati to cover. 28-24. Give me Nebraska to start the year 1-0. And if they lose, also keep an eye on this. I almost forgot to include this stat that I worked hard to find, and I almost just wasted my own time. Cincinnati last year, 1-4 in one-possession games. 1-4 in one-possession games. You just move that a little bit in the right direction, and Cincinnati's a bowl team this year. Now don't think of it as 2 years or a program that for the last 2 years hasn't made a bowl game. What if Cincinnati's a bowl team this year? Think about Nebraska going on the road week 1 against a Big 12 opponent that's a bowl team. That's how you should view this game. Nebraska should win. They are favored for a reason, 28-24. Give me the Cornhuskers. I'm excited to watch this one. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.